Yo, people, welcome back to the YouTube channel. You already know what time it is. It's time for another stream. Well, I guess a stream that should have happened a while ago, but at least it's coming to you right now. Big up your damn selves in the building as always. I'm going to get straight into it because we've got a lot to discuss Chelsea-wise, and there's a lot of explaining to do. Because it's a very messy situation. Big up everybody in the chat. It's a very, very messy situation that needs resolving immediately. Thankfully, we have reached that part now where there are no excuses left, okay? Because we know there's a meeting taking place between Chelsea and Inter Milan, and that is now happening because the Champions League final's done. Yes, you don't want to distract them from their other commitments. They have the Champions League final against Man City to focus on, same as Dortmund when Bellingham wasn't announced for Real Madrid because they had the end of the season to bottle in the Bundesliga. But that distraction is gone now. So now the meeting that we're all talking about on the TL needs to come and, you know, really needs to be coming to a conclusion in the next couple of days. Let's go through the chat. You know, Maignan the Stallion will make him secure the bag. So I'm calm. Off to Saudi, you fraud. Saudi money might actually help us get rid of a lot of players. We're going to talk about that. Do the players want to go to Saudi? We're going to be talking about that as well. Money talks, especially some of the... let's see the ins, not the end near some of the. I'm not sure what that's not really written out, right? But near the end of their careers, will still want Champions League or something. You're not that club anymore. Big targets ain't joining your shop. Joining you shopping that Spurs. No, we're not shopping in that Spurs aisle. Caicedo is coming to Arsenal. We're gonna discuss. Yes, and I'll be discussing this as well because I did see this on going around a bit, and I've read the report or the opinion piece. It's an opinion piece. Let's get that out the way first of all. That is an opinion piece. But anyway, I want to start with Inter Milan and this meeting. Then we'll go to Saudi and the money that's being put on the table, and then we'll go to obviously Caicedo's and a couple of other names. But mainly we need to talk about Inter Milan because Inter Milan. There's meant to be a meeting over the next couple of days between Inter Milan's hierarchy and Chelsea's hierarchy. Now, there's a lot of players involved. The key players are on the thumbnail, as you guys know: Lukaku, Onana, and Koulibaly. Now, Koulibaly's gone ahead of Chalobah because obviously Koulibaly is now priority centre-back target for Inter Milan. Chalobah is kind of like a secondary target. So I'm assuming that Chalobah is going to be brought into the conversation in some capacity because we know that there's been links with Italian clubs for Chalobah for quite some time. However, Koulibaly is the big target. He's the main target and he's the preference. Now, my issue with the Koulibaly situation is that he has two options, same as Lukaku, right? They both got the Saudi option and they've got the Inter Milan option. Now, we know Lukaku has prioritized Inter Milan over the Saudi option in terms of he wants to obviously compete in the top 5 leagues, probably wants to go at the Champions League again. Both Inter Milan and AC Milan, who obviously sacked Maldini, both qualified for Champions League. They both finished 3rd and 4th in Serie A. Juventus deducted points again for the 2nd time. So those two are both qualifying. And we know, unfortunately, the goalkeeper at AC Milan is not interested in joining us. He has qualified for Champions League. So it is really Onana or we're going to other targets. I'm going to go through some of those names in a minute. So we do need to have a very successful meeting here. We can't come out of this meeting without leaving with something. And I have to say this meeting is crucial for us. I'm not saying it's the be all and end all for Lukaku and Koulibaly because those Saudi offers are there. And maybe if the Inter Milan, situation goes, kapoots, they still go to Saudi and we still get rid of them. But in terms of the goalkeeping situation, I think everybody kind of is at a point now where if we don't get Onana, and obviously we're not going to get the AC Milan keeper because he's obviously not interested in joining us, then the next tier of targets after that are a drop-off. It's looking like, Sanchez at Brighton. It's looking like maybe we'll do a hijack for Raya at Brentford because obviously he's meant to be going to Tottenham, but we love a hijack and he's been on the list before. Martinez at Aston Villa, but it is a drop-off. So for me, this meeting is absolutely crucial. We need to get this meeting right. More so because, of course, they've got a lot of players that they're interested at our club. So there can be a conversation here. Now, the latest on Onana was a report that he's available for 58 million euros, which is basically 50 million pounds. And the issue at Inter is that financially, as we've known for a long time, as we've been dealing with them, financially, they are struggling. Juventus are struggling as well. I think I read somewhere they need to raise about 100 million in this market because they've missed out on Champions League football. Inter Milan are not rich, okay? Inter Milan are not rich. So they are willing and they are, you know, open to discussing a deal for Onana. It's a realistic deal that can get done. It's not going to be something crazy. When we talk about Costa, who's obviously the goalkeeper that we saw in the World Cup for Portugal and also obviously in the Portuguese league there with Porto, he is going to be more expensive than 50 million, which is why you're not seeing any reports on him. Sanchez at Brighton is going to cost less than him as well. So would, you know, Raya as well at Brentford. So all of these targets are reasonable fees, you could say at least. They're not inflated 60, 70, 80 million goalkeeping fees. So you're not going to hear about him. And I don't really think you're going to hear about Simon either, to be honest. So those Premier League goalkeepers, and we know Poch reportedly wants Premier League experience as well. So it's either going to be a Premier League goalkeeper at one of those clubs I've mentioned, either a Brighton, Aston Villa, Brentford, or it's going to be, you know, the two keepers that we've been speaking about in Milan. And now that's coming down to one with Inter Milan, because like I said, we're not going near AC Milan at the moment with the whole sacking and firing of the directors, etc. So that's the situation on Onana. 58 million euros, 50 million pounds, roughly around about that. Now, we got to somehow sneak in our players in this conversation as well. My issue with this is that last season we spent a lot of time trying to do swap deals and negotiating fees down, and there's going to be a disagreement over market value. How much is Lukaku worth to Inter Milan? How much is his market value? His contract runs out in 2026, I believe, on 325k a week. I think the most realistic situation for Lukaku is another loan deal if he's going to go to Inter Milan, because his market value is too confusing, because he's meant to be a top striker, but, you know, obviously his statistics towards the back end of the season might show some promise for some people. Then he has a Hall of Shame performance in the Champions League final when he comes on in terms of taking chances. Yes, he helps create chances, or there's chaos when he comes on, but at the end of the day, he missed big chances. But Inter Milan are still, you know, they're still somewhat interested in him. He definitely wants to go there. But again, for a player that I've said before started at 16 years old at Anderlecht, physically peaked at, you know, his young 20s at Everton, and really he's always been about pace, power, running down the channels. In his 30s, he's not going to get any better, in my opinion, from a P&P standpoint. And if Inter Milan know that, that's not good, right? So for me, I think a loan deal is most likely, and you're probably maybe going to see Koulibaly brought into a swap deal. But Koulibaly himself is on 300k a week as well. So these are two massive wage hitters in our squad. You're talking about 625k wages per week from these two players. And hopefully, you know, if they're willing to humble those wages, which is minimum 50% hit, unless we're going to pay some of those, because Inter Milan are not paying more than probably 200k a week. So 50% hit you're looking at, roundabout, maybe just a little bit above. And then maybe there can be a conversation. But in terms of both players, like I said, they're both linked with Saudi clubs. I think there was a report that went out, the top 4 Saudi clubs are open to Koulibaly. He could pick where he wants to go. And, you know, hopefully he would be interested in going there, but we can't force him. So he's only just signed last summer. Let's see what people are saying in the chat. He must go to Saudi. Nothing beats the feeling of running out on the pitch in front of a crowd of 10 people. To be fair, after the Benzema kind of introduction, it's fair to say there's a lot of people. If I'm going off that, the one thing I've noticed with the Saudi clubs is that I haven't really seen them pay massive fees. When China were, you know, rocking up for Diego Costa in January, when they were rocking up for Hulks, when they were rocking up for Oscars, Ramirez, you know, the list of players goes on, Carlos Tevez, etc., etc. They were happy to pay big fees. I'm yet to see a Saudi club, or, you know, they're all grouped together, a Saudi state. I'm yet to see them pay a big fee. Ronaldo was an opportunity after the Piers Morgan interview. They snapped him up immediately. Kante's a free. Benzema, I haven't heard about a fee on his side. His contract was running out in 2024. Lukaku, again, is an opportunity because we know that Chelsea are struggling on that situation. And, you know, it keeps going. Zaha as well at Crystal Palace was linked, again, running out of contract. So I'm not seeing big fees. And Chelsea, if they're to break even on Lukaku, is going to be around about 50 million. I calculated they'd have to they'd have to sell him for to break even, because obviously when you're amortizing his contract and his wages and whatnot, he's only been there for what, 2 seasons, and he's still got 3 seasons to go, 2026. So you're looking at about 50 million on Lukaku to break even. You're not going to get 50 million from Inter Milan because they're broke in comparison to Saudi clubs. They're broke. So that's why I'm saying Chelsea, unless they're willing to take peanuts for Lukaku, which I don't think they are as a hierarchy, most likely going to be a loan, maybe a little loan fee. But again, we're probably going to have to subsidize the wages anyway. So what does that loan fee really mean to us when we have to probably pay some of the wages? So that's a complicated situation. That's a very complicated situation to get done, unless he's unless Saudi come in with a bid. But I don't believe that Lukaku has rejected Saudi's 50 million per year contract or 71 million per year contract. He might want more. I don't think he's closed off the contact. I think he'd be stupid to do that because look, he ain't going to get paid anywhere in Europe near what he's going to get paid at Saudi club. And he hasn't got many options on the table. He keeps reiterating that he doesn't want to be at Chelsea, and he's very serious about that. He doesn't want to be at Chelsea. That's been reported so many times. So why would you then close off probably one of 2 opportunities, which is Inter Milan or a Saudi club? I just think personally, the meeting is yet to be had. That meeting is in a couple of days. Once that meeting is concluded, then we'll know if Lukaku to Inter Milan is really that realistic. If it's not, then Lukaku to Saudi might become something that moves a lot faster. But I think right now his preference is Inter Milan, then is Saudi, and he's waiting on the meeting to happen. So once that meeting happens, then we're going to know what's going on a little bit more as to whether or not he's gonna move. No one sold yet. I'm scared. This ain't looking good. I've said this before, and I said it on All You Can Eat Chelsea, and it wasn't to panic anyone, but it is to kind of remind us of where we are and what we need to do in comparison to others. We are behind, right? We finished 12th for a reason because we're currently behind. And it's not to say that we don't have quality in the squad, but it's to say that as a club, structurally, and with our squad, we are way off the pace because we have too many players. We're not a normal club right now. We're not operating as a normal team. We're operating as a bloated team that have too many players. Half of them are unhappy, etc., etc. Now, some of it is unlucky. But unfortunately, we can't sit here and feel sorry for ourselves. We don't have time to be unlucky. We don't have time for Manchester United's takeover to not be completed and for them to not pay the asking price for Mason Mount. We don't have time for Mbappe to send a letter to PSG and then suddenly Kai Havertz drops from priority to 2nd or 3rd choice in the list, and now they're not looking at him anymore and the deal's off and they're going for Mbappe instead. We don't have time for this. This is all unlucky, you could say, circumstantial, but we don't have time for that. We don't have time for Maldini to randomly get sacked at AC Milan and then the Loftus-Cheek deal is off. We have to sell players. It's not an option. It's not a conversation. It's not a negotiation. It has to happen. It doesn't happen, next season we're screwed again. So as much as we can sit here and say, yes, we are working behind the scenes, we're trying to get things done. Fabrizio keeps talking about Caicedo. We're still, doing stuff in the background. We have to get things done. We can't sit here and say, oh, well, if this happened and this happened, then maybe it would have been different. Other clubs can take their time. They have their squads. They got 2-3 they want to leave, 2-3 they want to bring in. Normal. We have a situation where we need to minimum get rid of 10. I've done multiple videos on the size of the squad. We have about 44 first team players if you're counting Andre Santos and Baba Rahman, right? But roughly 44 to 45 senior players that if you put them in the reserves is slightly disrespectful. That needs to come down to 25. That needs to be halved. And that's including the loanees and including people that are also being bought. So we have a lot of work to do. And preferably, I don't know about you guys, but I'd like that to be done before pre-season. Not all of it, but a good 75% of it. Now, hopefully Pochettino is going to be ruthless enough to say, if you are not staying here, you're not coming on the pre-season tour. And what they probably need to do is separate out the squad into 2 groups. One group that is 100% committed and staying with Pochettino next season. Even if it's not a big group, just make that be a group. And then the second group needs to be a group of players that you need to find an exit. You need to help us find an exit. You need to kind of engineer a move. Your agent needs to help us engineer a move. Look for clubs because you're not staying here. Separate them out into 2 groups. Let them train separately, have different lunch breaks, all that type of shit. It sounds toxic, but if you start to mix these two groups together, then you start to get little whispers and little murmurs, and then the squad is unsettled and people aren't paying attention to the plan. Preseason is only for fitness and for developing a system and for coaching. It's not for anything other than that. Any drama, controversy is not happening. Otherwise, we're going into the season like we ended it. So that is the type of level of shit that we're dealing with here that we have to be remembering. This is why in July, preferably, we would have got a lot of the business done on outgoings. Otherwise, we're going to have too many players, and Pochettino is going to have to be dealing with that. But let's see. Well, bro, you can't have a preseason with 45 players or 40 players. You can't have that's not a preseason. That's a mess. So, you know, for me, my idea is much better, because you're talking about everybody's invited. Everybody gets to come to preseason. How is Pochettino meant to implement anything serious with 40 plus players or 39 or 38 players? It's the same thing that every other coach this season has complained about. It's the same thing that any coach would complain about. No manager, not even when you load up Football Manager or FIFA, do you want to have 38 players in your squad or 40 players? And you start getting all those emails coming through from all these little squaddies that have no intention. You have no intention of using these little 75, 76 rated idiots, but they're just hanging around, dwindling around. You can't have that. We have to get rid or move these players aside and put them into another group. It's not nice, but unfortunately, that you know, that's life. Do you know what I mean? That's the situation. Why is he not interested? I mean, I think it's quite obvious. I mean, listen, Maldini being sacked was obviously, it's gone down very poorly with the players that he signed, right? He did incredible recruitment. He brought in Leao, he brought in Tomori, he brought in Giroud, he brought in, you know, Tonali. He brought in loads of people, right? For good fees as well. They were on a limited budget. They tend to spend around £50 million max, you know, around about that in a window. So he's done great business, and they have been improving. They won a Scudetto. They got to the Champions League semi-final. Before that, you would not have heard about AC Milan for the last 10 years. So those players aren't happy. You saw Leao put out his little tweet. Other players, Theo Hernandez is another one he brought in. Again, players aren't happy. But that doesn't mean that they're going to all just be sold immediately. They did qualify for Champions League football. They finished 4th. And even if they did want to leave, how are we to say that we're at the top of that list? We can't say that. We literally are going into a window in our worst ever position on the Premier League table in 12th. So I don't think that it's difficult to understand why a top goalkeeper who's about to become the #1 for France after Hugo Lloris retired is not interested in coming to the team that finished 12th. He could probably take a good pick of top clubs if he became available. Anyone who needs a goalkeeper is going to be after him. So not that there's many, but Man United maybe with De Gea would fall into that if they obviously got their ownership sorted. But obviously right now it's a little bit sketchy. I don't know if there's been fake reports and stuff like that going around for Man United. Let's see. Some deadwood will remain at Chelsea, but most has to go. Exactly. I'm not naive enough to think that we're going to get rid of everyone. I've done the videos. I've gone through the entire team, every single player from your, you know, Baba Rahmans to your Hudson-Odois to your Ziyech's and Pulisic's to Lukaku's, Aubameyangs, etc. And at least the only positive I can say is that it does seem that, according to Nazar Cancelo, which I don't want to hype him up too much because he's a little bit of a sketchy one at the moment, but according to him, Ziyech and Aubameyang have offers from Saudi. I'd be inclined to believe that, because I don't see why they wouldn't have offers from Saudi. To be honest, I think those two players are the type of player that I would assume would have offers coming in from them. And yeah, look, listen, if they can be on their merry way, that would be great as well. But it depends on whether they want to make those moves. Hopefully, all we can do is hope. Let's see. If we miss out on Caicedo, brother, our club is dead in the water. We're going to get onto Caicedo very soon. That's a tough one. I'm not going to lie to you. It's a tough situation. But again, we've been speaking about it for the last couple of days, at least last week as well. We know what time it is with Brighton. We know exactly what time it is with Brighton, man. It's It's not a simple situation with Levi Colwill there as well. So no, he's not interested. Let's see. Keep the unwanted players back home and let them find clubs. I think to keep the situation not toxic, when I thought about it, I said to myself, maybe leaving them at home is harsh, because at the end of the day, we did purchase them. We did give them contracts, and we have to fulfill those contracts. And part of those contracts is to keep them fit, to give them the facilities that we've shown them, which is at Cobham, and to allow them to, stay in the right frame of mind, physical condition to actually go and get clubs in the first place, not to let them rot at home and not even allow them to come to the facilities. I think that would be extremely toxic. But what I'm saying is that it does need to be separated. The two groups need to be separated. The US tour is starting in July, early July. Whoever boards that plane should be part of the plan. And the ones that are not part of the plan, there's no reason whatsoever for them to board that plane. So the way I see it is that you've got your team that you're building, plus your couple of new signings in Gusto and in Cuckoo, maybe a new player that comes in, etc. They go on the plane to the US, they play Wrexham, they play etc., the Premier League tournament, whatever's going on over there, and you leave the players to stay fit, to train at Cobham, keep them calm and happy, but keep them clear and understanding that they need to leave and that this is temporary. You're here, and if you don't find a move, you're only potentially damaging your own World Cup chances. If you're Pulisic, probably going to be fine. But listen, don't guarantee yourself as a starter if you're not actually playing football. Ziyech, etc. All these guys, you need to be making a move on. I think the mistake last season was potentially not being that cutthroat and allowing people to get on the plane that had no plan on being here whatsoever. And then you not only sabotage some of your potential development of young players, but you also just waste everybody's time. I don't need to see Bakayoko on the pitch against Wrexham. I don't need to see, Pulisic really on the pitch against Wrexham. I don't need to see Lukaku or Maignan on the pitch against Wrexham. These kind of guys, it just doesn't make any sense. Let's see what else is being said. Send Levi on loan if that means we can get Caicedo, if that's the only way we get him. So the whole point of a loan for me, and this is where I disagree with the Carney situation where he reportedly could have been going on loan to AC Milan. If the club that is trying to take them on loan is of a quality where they go in and start, right? Like a Levi Colwill, he's a starter at Brighton. Brilliant performance at the Emirates. A Carney, if they want him on loan at AC Milan or they plan on starting him, if they're good enough to go and start for these clubs, then again, we need to humble ourselves on what we just did in the last season. They're good enough to be in our squads. They're definitely good enough to be in our squads. If they can start for AC Milan, they can start for Brighton, they can be in our squad and they can be developed by Pochettino, which is what he's here to do. And then they could potentially become starters and save us a lot of money in these positions. If you're going on loan, it's because you're not ready to play for Chelsea. That's the point. If you are ready, then you shouldn't be going out on loan unless there's an issue, which is the fact that we've got too many players. But for me, you need to be getting rid of the players that are not good enough, that are, past their sell-by date, and not sacking off more young players that actually have potential, because that's just a waste of time. And Levi Colwill's contract, I think, runs out in 2025. Maybe there's a year to trigger on that, as sometimes there is an extra year that can be triggered. But the point is that, listen, he's already developed a connection with Brighton. I don't think another loan is necessary at all. I think it's just a waste of time. A lot of people forget, listen, he might be contracted here, but if he goes to Brighton again, tears it up, why would he want to? Why, what is there to say that we're not going to go and sign another centre back? We've done it before, out of sight, out of mind. We sent Ian Maatsen out on loan. He smashes it. Everybody says, oh, as long as you go out on loan and you smash it, there's always going to be a place waiting for you here to compete. You just need to go and put the work in. Don't be arrogant. And then when you come back, there'll be a place. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Sometimes we send these players out on loan, we forget about them, and then we replace them, accidentally maybe in the squad because we don't have enough options, injury-prone players. Oh, we need to buy squad depth. Next thing you know, you've bought squad depth and there's no space for the player that you just sent out on loan, that you just told to go and prove themselves. So, yeah, for me, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I don't think, no. I think, listen, Poch is a massive fan of Levi Colwill. I don't think we'll be selling him or loaning him. But that is why Caicedo, is becoming more and more difficult, because you guys were asking me on the piece that Alex kind of wrote on Patreon. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Arsenal can afford Caicedo and Rice, right? They can afford. And the problem is with that situation is, again, we need to humble ourselves. Arsenal, if they go for a player and we go for a player and they put up the money that we are going to put up, and there was a report that said that we would only match what Arsenal will pay. We're not going to get into a bidding war with Brighton over Caicedo with Arsenal. So if we are going to match what Arsenal are going to pay, the only thing we can do to put ourselves in a better position is installments. If Arsenal say they're going to pay 70 million up front and they're going to do 10 million in installments, then all we can do, or all we're apparently going to do, is 75 million initial and 5 million in installments. So it's a little bit of a better deal for Brighton to put us and give us the edge. If it comes down to same money, same bid accepted, and it's down to the player, Caicedo is choosing Arsenal over Chelsea. So that makes us, on the back foot. We're not favourites. Same thing with Mudryk, okay? Mudryk did not pick Chelsea over Arsenal. I said it when we did the breaking news stream live when we signed him, and I was so confused as to how it even happened, because I didn't even know we were interested in him like that. If Mudryk had got the contract offer from Arsenal and they weren't outpriced of the bid, Mudryk would be an Arsenal player. So we've put ourselves in a position where in that table, Arsenal, they are ahead of us on these targets. Simple as that. They will pick up these players before us if it comes to that. The only way we can get these players over them is either wages or transfer fees, or both. So for me personally, it is more likely that he goes there than he goes to us, because we have Levi Colwill and Brighton are moving a bit reckless with that. I personally, with Brighton, I'm a little bit annoyed with them in the way that they're doing it, because we did give them Billy Gilmore. People forget this is a two-way relationship. This is not just we take. Now, we did take a lot, but you got good fees. Cucurella was 62 million. It's a lot of money, plus a Levi Colwill loan. Graham Potter, you improved on that manager anyway. And, we gave you Billy Gilmore for peanuts. So I'm not really understanding why we're not able to do a deal for Caicedo as of yet. And it has to include Levi Colwill. If anything, that would just make the price higher. I understand if, it has to be, 55, 60 million for Caicedo plus Levi Colwill. If you're not going to give us Levi Colwill, then we want 80, 85 million. That's not a problem. That's very easy to understand. Not to mention also Tariq Lamptey. Again, another deal that we've done for them. So let's be very clear here. Let's not get into this mindset of, we've been bullying Brighton and we haven't done them a favour or two. No. The Brighton-Chelsea back and forth has been very beneficial for them, and probably more beneficial for them than it has been for us. If anything, it's only taken us back. So they got compensation for Graham Potter as well. We didn't take Graham Potter for free. We paid 20 million for Graham Potter. That's more money for Brighton again. So for me personally, I don't really understand why they're moving so mad, when really Arsenal are not offering them anyone. Arsenal are not offering them any players in exchange. As far as I'm aware, they had a 70 million bid in January that they couldn't get done, obviously, with the transfer request, because it was mid-season. They blocked the move, Brighton. They'll be coming in again with a similar bid to start off with, and maybe it will go up to 80. But they're not offering any players in exchange. And if in terms of offering players, the one thing we do have over Arsenal is we have a lot more talent to offer in exchange than Arsenal do. You look at Arsenal's team, who would they offer to Brighton? I don't think they'd want Holding. Maybe Balogun. Nketiah, I don't think that's anything that Brighton would be excited about. Nicolas Pepe, no. El Neni, no. Who else? Who else is really there in that Arsenal team that you can offer? Tierney wants to go Newcastle. I don't know what's happened with that situation. That's gone quiet. We've got a ridiculous amount of young players that we could offer on loan, or, even senior players that potentially could even drop down. Smith Rowe's confirmed to stay at Arsenal as well. Lokonga is nothing for Brighton to be getting excited about. So this is what I'm saying. We've got a lot more players. So for me, it's a strange one. I don't really understand why they're moving like this, but we need to we need to be very careful not to be getting mugged off by them again. So I think it is true that Caicedo is more likely to go to Arsenal, but nothing's done. Nothing's been agreed. There's no bid on the table at the moment. They're focusing on Declan Rice. They're going to get Declan Rice, I think, as well. So if we let Arsenal, and I say let, it's not really up to us, to be honest, because if they put the money up, then there's nothing we can do. But if Arsenal get Caicedo and Rice, we are in serious shit. I think that goes without saying. You know, if they get Caicedo and Rice, and we leave that situation with nothing, considering all of these years we've been linked with Rice, all of these little preliminary talks behind the scenes with Rice and his camp and all this stuff that has kind of gone left due to negotiating tactics or communication errors or whatever behind the scenes, then we for the next decade, you know, we better develop and improve Andre Santos, Carney, and Cassidy, because if they don't rise to that level, what are we going to do? Just keep buying more young players or keep buying midfielders? It's a mad situation. But even if we do, these two players are guaranteed, in my opinion, to be world class if they're not already. So you're looking at having to either go and equal that or go and find generational midfielders to go and leapfrog. It's a very bad situation to be in if they get both of those players, on top of having Odegaard already in that midfield. So yeah, it's a tough one. Let's see. We didn't submit any bids, because before you submit a bid, and listen, I'm not here to do timeline standing, and if you want, let me just talk honestly, right? I'm not here to do stupidness, talk foolishness, and you know, talking these little player tribe stan communities. Oh, I'm not interested. Let me tell you actually the serious shit. You don't put in a public bid for a player if you know that public bid is going nowhere. Now, Chelsea did never need to put in a public bid for Rice, because up until this season, Rice was always going to be fine with agreeing personal terms with Chelsea. That was never going to be a problem. Rice, you guys know, family's Chelsea fan, Mason Mount, all that rare-tete. As long as we're qualifying for Champions League and we look like a club that are going somewhere, just like Arsenal have agreed personal terms, we were always going to be able to agree personal terms. Rice going from West Ham to Chelsea is an obvious step up. We're in London. That's his preference, to be in London. Arsenal, prior to this season, were finishing 5th, 8th. So we were always going to be front runners if we decide that we want him, right? And we were interested in terms of managers. Frank Lampard was interested. Everybody knows that. I don't need to clarify that. Now that Thomas Tuchel and Bayern Munich have gone in for him, now you can understand that it was true that Thomas Tuchel wanted Declan Rice. Because why would Tuchel want Declan Rice at Bayern Munich, which is more difficult to get done, because as you can see, that deal is not going to happen because he wants to stay in London, but not want him at Chelsea. So the last two Chelsea managers before Potter wanted Declan Rice at Chelsea. I'm not here to tell you that the whole board, Chelsea board, were convinced under Roman that we should pay that money, that we should bring back a player that had just come from the academy. All these, like, that's the board, right? There might have been some disagreements, but the two managers, and I think Bayern Munich won them, is that a confirmation? The two managers wanted him to come in. No bids were put out because he had a long time left on his contract at West Ham, and West Ham have basically said, listen, you're not getting him for anything less than about 110, 20 million. Chelsea don't want to pay that, so there's no point even starting negotiations. Every time the phone gets picked up, it gets put straight back down. So that's why there's been no bid, because we just were never going to get him for the stupid price that they wanted. They're still asking for a lot of money right now, but it seems like Arsenal have come to an agreement, and also they've put out publicly via the quotes of Sullivan after the Conference League, they're going to sell him this summer. They've promised him they're going to sell him now. They've been keeping him, you know, basically in a cage for the last couple of years, saying, listen, we can't let you go. We just lost Mark Noble. You're now the captain. Can't let two captains go in one year. You know, we're in Europa League. We need you to stay an extra year. Excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse as to why we need you to stay another year. Very similar to where can I make a comparison where a player's loyalty and their love for a club is kind of tested because, listen, you know that club is maybe not of the level needed, but because they've got an attachment to the fans or etc. You know, it makes sense. It makes sense why they would not kick up a fuss. But basically, the point is that now they've come to the situation where they're like, okay, it's time to shake hands. It's time to, you know, it's time to actually just let him go and make his move. He wasn't going to sign an extension. I think they offered him a 5-year contract with Harry Kane, thank you. I knew I was looking for someone. Harry Kane, I'll tie that in a minute. 200,000 a week they offered him. He's not accepting it. 5-year contract. The longer they keep him, the more the contract runs down. It's better to just end amicably in an amicable way. This is the summer where they've decided to shake hands and let it go. Harry Kane's a great example of that. Harry Kane wanted to go last summer. They blocked it, or Man City didn't put up the money that they wanted. We, again, didn't put up the money that West Ham wanted, so he doesn't move. He puts in a transfer request. He maybe says behind the scenes, I want to go, but he's not going to take it too far. And Levy knows that, and Sullivan knows that, and these ownerships, they know that if the player has captaincy or they have ties to the fans or they love the club, you're going to use that to your advantage. You're going to use that to your advantage because you know they're not going to overdo it. They're not going to come out and do an Mbappe or do a madness and, you know, letters and all this. So they use that to their advantage. But now, you know, now that's come to an end. They've won the Conference League now. It's not really a better time to part ways than now. And like I said, they're going to use that money and reinvest. That is the truth of the matter. I don't really see how anybody can't believe that because, like I said, Bayern Munich literally were interested in him. Thomas Tuchel is there. Thomas Tuchel is a fan of the player. It might not be what people want to hear, but it's the facts, okay? It's just simple facts. And I wouldn't lie to you lot. I'm not an ITK, but I've literally seen screenshots. I've seen conversations. I'm just telling you the situation. Like, he was wanted by our former managers. And as long as you're wanted by a former manager, there is interest. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but there's interest. But you know Chelsea, it's a collaborative model. Board has to agree with manager. Conte wanted Lukaku. He got Morata. Doesn't mean that Chelsea didn't want Lukaku. Just means that it couldn't get done. That's just how it is. So moving on. Let's see what's being said. We need to get João Paulinho. I'm really not. Again, I'm not here to discuss in a Twitter fashion. You know what I mean? I'm here to talk properly now. I'm not here to clown around because at the end of the day, we can joke and banter as much as we want about this stuff. But seriously now, we need to sort out our summer. So I'm just giving you the real. I'm just giving you the facts. I'm not on nobody's payroll. I can easily disagree with whoever I want. And I do. Do you know what I'm saying? Whenever I want. However, I'm telling you the situation. You don't have to like it. But I know there's been conversations between Winstanley and Declan's camp. And I know that Arsenal have been favourites ever since January when Declan Rice was actually being chased by Arteta in January. And then, look, they got the lead, they got the march, and obviously the season ended how it ended. We were never going to get him finishing in 12th. It is what it is. Let's see. Yeah, Harry Kane's a great example. I don't know if that's confirmed. Victor Roque, we know Barcelona wanted him for a long time. I think there may have been like financial issues there, but I don't know what's going on that situation. And the thing is with Rice is that I don't even really do Rice propaganda because, to be honest, I'm not really bothered. Like I said, I've never really been bothered. Tchouameni was a defensive midfielder that I wanted. We missed out on him. Who else have we missed out on over the years? We've missed out on quite a few options. Bruno Guimaraes was maybe a good player we could have bought in midfield before Newcastle got him. We missed out on him. So, and listen, Caicedo, if we were to get him, then that would be a fantastic equalizer. But if we don't get either and both of them go to Arsenal, that's not good. Because I think we can all admit that our targets after that are most likely kind of second rate. Like Lavia's got a lot of potential, but he's not playing at the level of a Caicedo or Declan Rice right now. Paulinho has had one season at Fulham, did very well, but you can't say that after that season he's playing higher level than the other two. So our other targets are still good targets. I wouldn't be going mad, but I would be concerned that we're a little bit behind. We're a little bit behind Arsenal in terms of what we've got and what they've got. And Andre Santos has shown that he can at times maybe play a bit deeper, but his main attributes are obviously, arriving, maybe, adding goals to the team. Cassidy definitely can add goals to the team. Funnily enough, a lot of these midfielders that we've got on the books are a little bit more of the mold of what Chelsea used to be. If you look at like Lampard and Ballack and the physicality and the goals and, being a box-to-box midfielder and having a lot of output, that's basically what we have in terms of raw kind of minerals of these players. The foundations is physically much better or bigger or more imposing than everybody else in their age group. which is why they're dominating so much in their under-20 World Cup campaigns. They're just massive. They're huge. They get goals. They got output. Very efficient in that level. But obviously, they're not really, you wouldn't say they're controllers or high volume passers or, you know, setting tempo, dictating play. Not those type of midfielders, at least not yet. So they're a little bit more old fashioned, you could say, which is I don't have a problem with. But if that's going to be the case, then you've kind of got to build your midfield in that mold and not what we look like we're doing, which is playing a 2. Because if you play a 2, obviously Enzo is going to be one of the most advanced. The other one's got to be defensive minded. And even Enzo, you know, if you're playing as part of a 2, you do need to be a little bit more defensively disciplined. So it's a tough one. Cassidy's the new Totti. He will be great along with Santos and Carney. All have higher ceiling. Dare I say, could be world class. I don't want to get too excited about these guys because I've not seen loads of them in terms of their games. We've seen them in the under-20 World Cup. I've seen a lot of great players in the under-20 World Cup in previous seasons, and then it's not always gone to the next level. So we just got to take it step by step. I don't want to overgas these guys, but they look like they got something to them. The fact that they're leaders in their team and they're wearing the armbands in their team as well is good. That's a good start. Kone, Lavia, Paulinho, it doesn't move me. Yeah, do you know what it is? Yeah, listen, I'm just, do you know what it is with me right today? Is I'm just very understanding of where we're at, and it doesn't sound great to hear, but it's the truth. You know, we are in a serious situation, people. Like we need to see outgoings really in the next week or 2, because we're only 2 weeks away, or just you could say there's 2 weeks and a bit away from pre-season now. 2.5 weeks. Next, 1st of July is on a Saturday. That's when Pochettino officially starts, and time flies. Time flies, man. Like saying a joke, time flies. There's no reason for shit not to get done. When did the transfer window officially open? I think it was it not meant to be this? Was it not meant to be now? Let me Google this. I'm pretty sure the transfer window is now officially open. Because I heard it was the same day as the Champions League final. It was the day after. Let me see. It opens on the 14th of June officially for all clubs in England and Scotland. So the transfer window officially opens tomorrow, Wednesday. Transfer window officially opens tomorrow. Now it closes in August, late August, you know, last day of August or whatever. But if we're doing business at that point, it's too late. How I see it. If we're doing business at that point, then it's too late. It closes on the 1st of September, 11 p.m. on a Friday. If we're doing business even the week, 2 weeks before that, serious business, like important business, then we failed. That's how I see it. Get your business done early so the players can focus on preseason, so we can focus on preseason. And that is the best way to prepare going into next season. We can't afford to get off to a bad start. And yeah, I'm a little bit on edge because what we saw this season was catastrophic, people. It wasn't a joke. It was absolutely horrendous. And we're talking about, you know, we're talking about doing about 10 to 15 outgoings. Each negotiation has to be done, completed, signed off, paperwork. It's a lot to get done. And we've got all these directors and shit just has to happen. It really does. And yeah, in terms of spend, how much money can we spend until we sell? FFP, I don't think we're in danger, but we do need to sell players. We do need to make money, and we are outpricing a lot of these players. So as much as we can say, oh, this player's going to leave, this guy's going to leave, where is Loftus-Cheek actually going to go? You know, is he going to go to Lazio? I think Inter Milan also want to keep Thabz. If we outprice those 2 clubs, what next? Is it going to end up being loan deals for some of these players? If we're going to try and trim the squad down, are we going to end up, we can only loan so many players because FIFA have a new rule in over maximum of loans. So the likelihood is that we're not going to be able to loan too many players. I think they've already kind of said that they don't want to loan out players that are not developing players, young players. They only want to loan out, you know, They only want to loan out players that are young, that are developing. They don't want to loan out senior players or first team players. So that would be a Loftus-Cheek, that would be a Lukaku. They would want to do as little of those loans as possible because there's no reason to loan those guys. Those guys need to be sold. But it's forget money. You can't really buy too many players when you've got this many players on your roster, because all you're doing is just stacking, and that's a problem. Because we know we have too many players right now. We haven't even, we've already got 2 more new players coming in. You could say that's replacing the 2 loan players that are going out. So if you're saying João Felix is gone, Nkuku's already coming in, Zakari is gone, Gusto's coming in. So you've already got 2 in, 2 out. So we just got loads of players. So as much as we want Caicedo to get done, and you want, Onana to get done, and you want a striker can get done, there has to be some hesitance on bringing players in when the main priority, as I've always said, is get players out. So until these players go, at least a good 5, 6 of them, we're in a very, very, very bad situation. It's as simple as that. So we need to fix up, guys. We need to fix up, man. I'm not even joking anymore. I can't lie, because I'm not doing what happened last season. Can't happen again, man. Can't happen again, because football goes in cycles. We could easily become the Liverpool of Roy Hodgson with the Paul Koncheskis and Stuart Downers and them, man, if we're not careful. You know what I'm saying? If we're getting rejected by certain players already, or they're not interested, and they, no disrespect, sitting 4th in Serie A, it's not like as if they sitting at Napoli winning the title, rejecting us. It's a very bad look. It's a very, very bad look. Let me go through the recent reports of the TL. What's been going on, if there's any extra updates. I think I've spoken about Inter Milan, Saudi. Saudi are hovering around about 4 players: Lukaku, Koulibaly, Ziyech, and Aubameyang. Hopefully the latter, the 2 latter, just please, just hurry up, man. Please, Ziyech and Aubameyang, just please, just get that done. Just go. The other 2 I can understand are a bit more complex. But those 2 there, listen, you're best friends, man. Just go to the same club if you have to. I think they were saying that Ziyech, they want to bring him to the same club as Ronaldo. I think there's four top clubs there in Saudi. They're trying to separate the players amongst them, and they want to use Ziyech as chance creation for Ronaldo. Please, just go. Just take your stuff and go. Your contract's got 1 year left. Both of them contract 1 year left, 2024. European clubs are not really sniffing around you guys. You're going to make a shitload of money. Please, just go. The weather's warm. Any Saudi side keen on signing Mahrez got a clear message from Manchester City. Important fee will be requested. Nothing final or advanced yet. Jordi Alba is also in advanced talks with Inter Miami. It's a concrete possibility. And let's see what else. Nope. Bayern Munich always knew that Declan Rice wanted to continue in England. Tuchel is a big fan, but deal was never close to being completed with FC Bayern. Arsenal working on their official bidders. Personal terms won't be an issue. I think the biggest mistake that Tuchel and Chelsea made is, okay, you can want Declan Rice as Tuchel, right? But you have to have a backup plan. And I'm talking about that first summer, not the second where the ownership took place, the ownership change. And they wanted Declan Rice, but listen, Tchouaméni was there. Tchouaméni was also there. And they decided against it, or they decided that he needed an extra year in France, or whatever the hell they said in that conversation. And next thing you know, we don't get a DM and we're getting Saul Niguez instead. So you can want Declan Rice all you want. And this is why I haven't done no propaganda for him, because 1, I don't think he's the be all and end all. He's a very good player, but Declan Rice is not the be all and end all of this position. If you're saying to yourself that you're living and dying by Declan Rice only, then football is maybe not for you. There's no way a Declan Rice, as good as he is, can be the only DM that you can think of that you can sign. This is a position that there's quite a few players that can play. Rodri came from Atletico Madrid. No one was banging on about Rodri before Pep went on and got him. I heard more talk about Thomas Partey really at Atletico than I heard about Rodri. The point is that there's players out there. There's players out there. Bruno Guimaraes, not exactly the same player, but goes to Newcastle, smashes it first season. Like, you have to have other options. Can't just be out here just going on about one player and then Now we almost, funnily enough, look like Liverpool with the Bellingham situation. You just harp on about one player, and you don't have any other eyes, or you don't have any clear sight of anyone else, and try to actually sign that six to compete with Jorginho. And then if after that you want to go and double up with another player, because now we're seeing Rice can play maybe box to box in a pivot. He doesn't have to play sitter. He can contribute going forward, whatever. You can go and double up then, but you have to get someone in. To get nobody in and to just beg and plead with this player that was never available for years, it's borderline stupidity. It's literally what happened with Bellingham with Liverpool. Saved up all their money, saved up all their hopes and prayers on the Bellingham situation, and then got blown out of the water by Real Madrid. Stupidity. Let's see. Tunnel vision. Yeah, listen, it's mad. It's mad, bro. It's crazy. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And the one thing that I will say, and this is the one thing I will say is, right, some people ain't going to believe unless they see a bid. I've already explained that's not how football works. Like, just because you don't bid doesn't mean you're not interested. A bid is kind of you. It's done for multiple reasons. Brighton are bidding for Levi Colwill right now because they just want to firm up their interest and say, listen, we really want the player. But they know that Chelsea are rejecting all these bids. I think they're maybe just doing it to appease their own fan base and say, listen, we tried, and then go on and get someone else. But you can bid or not bid for many reasons. A bid doesn't really mean anything, especially if you're not actually going to get it over the line. But for me, it's just it's negligence. It's real negligence in that position. And we're still haven't got one because obviously Ugarte went to PSG. So it's proper negligence right now. Let's see what's being said. We should be in major panic mode. I feel like this is a bad dream. Arsenal having more pull than us. Yeah, I mean, listen, we finished 12th. It doesn't surprise me, especially when we've spent 600 million and we have 45 players, that Arsenal are in a better position than us to sign players. They probably have more available funds because they don't have to make massive sales to sign big names or to sign players on big money, for big money. And they don't have a bloated squad, and they didn't have to go through a whole manager search as well. So I'm not surprised. This is exactly the situation we're in. When you finish 12th, there are consequences. You can't just go and finish 12th with 45 players with no manager at the time, until obviously we announce Poch, and think it's all going to be okay. Unless you really are serious about selling players, which means these prices, I said it already, it needed to be a yard sale. And it's not looking like a yard sale to me. A yard sale is selling things at cut price. And listen, you can say, okay, we might be getting, the short end of the stick, but we understand the fact of the matter is that whether or not we value or rate these players at a certain price, there are other clubs that can go and buy other players if they don't really care about helping us in our situation of having too many players. Okay, we want to sell maybe Kai Havertz to Real Madrid. We may think he's worth 60. Real Madrid want to pay 40. Try and bring that to 50 and get the deal done. If Mason Mount's not staying and his contract's not going to be extended and he's only got 1 year left, then we may ask for 70. And I don't know why, because if you ask for 70 for Mason Mount, then surely that values him at around 200,000 a week or whatever, image rights, but I'm not going to get into that again. But if you are going to not sign up Mason Mount on an extension and he's only got 1 year left, then you need to sell him. So maybe you do need to take 50 million. And, we can say that we're trying to play hardball, but we are not in a position to over-negotiate with our players. That's the fact of the matter. We're not in a position to over-negotiate, because the longer we take to get rid of players, the more detriment it's going to do to our season next year. The only people that are going to lose in this is us. We're the only ones that are going to lose in this situation. Nobody else. Everybody else will just sign other players. They'll just sign other players and they'll move on and get on with their pre-seasons. And then we'll be stuck with players going into July, going into August. And then one or two things are going to happen. We're going to either sell them for a cut price anyway, which we could have just done in June, or they're going to stay here and then we're going to have too many players. So we don't really have time to piss around, to be honest, with negotiations, in my opinion, but we'll see what happens. I'm not hearing this depression. Look how many leagues and players there are across the world. Unless you're Messi or Mbappe, there are players like you. Scouts, go earn your money. It's a madness. Okay. My narrative is maybe simplistic. Let me explain it again. Mason Mount is not Mbappe. Kai Havertz is not Leo Messi. There are other players of this level in the world. That's just the fact of the matter. We are not selling, we're not selling this elite level, generational, can't be touched, can't be tamed, Miley Cyrus 2003 player. We are selling very good players who are in very, very poor form that need to be revived and need to be improved or developed or coached. That's what we're doing. Now, those type of players, you can find quite a few of them around the world. I'm not going to lie to you. So there will be alternatives for these players in the market, 100%. We're not selling Mbappe. Unless those clubs are very, very, very underprepared and they don't have their due diligence done in terms of a list, then they will have other targets. It's not Mason Mount or bust for Manchester United. It's not Kai Havertz or bust for Real Madrid. So that's how I see it. Unless you guys think these two players are, just astronomically clear of everything else out on the market, then I would just have to disagree. I feel Osimhen should be our only number 9 priority for his mentality and some spine which is needed to build right now, along with his hunger for goals. It's going to cost a minimum 100+ million in installments, maybe, but still a lot of money. So easier said than done. Easier said than done. Yeah. I don't even care. I can't lie. My club is in too much shit right now for me to even care. About the treble. Like, you did it, and I am, jealous about it. I'd love to have done it, but I'm in too much shit right now. I'm in hot water. I'm in hot water right now. And in the case of Mbappe, not that it needed to be cleared up, but he's obviously not coming to us, or we don't have any, there's just nothing going on there. I don't know why anyone even thought for a second we would have a chance. But listen, I think a lot of people are just dreaming. I know he held up a shirt when he was little with Chelsea kit, but yeah, that's as far as that goes. That's as close you're ever going to see him in the Chelsea kit as that little picture there when he was holding it up in a little photo. Funnily enough, it's really in Mbappe's court. It's not really in PSG's court. I know PSG are coming out of all these statements and they're saying, you must sign an extension or you must leave now. There's nothing that PSG can physically do to move Mbappe in this window by force. Mbappe is holding all the cards as usual, as he did last summer and the summer before that and before that. If Mbappe says what he says, which is that he doesn't want to leave in the summer, which is very clever because we all know what he's doing. He doesn't want to leave the summer. He wants to leave for free in 2024. Real Madrid were ready to go and do a deal in 2024. PSG get no money. Mbappe gets more money because, of course, he costs nothing. Transfer fee-wise, say his wages and his agent signing on or whatever will be massively inflated. His signing on fee will be ridiculous, right? So that's why Mbappe is fine with this situation. First of all, it's all in his hands. He doesn't want to leave this summer. But I do believe that signing Asensio and being interested in Wilfried Zaha, and I just don't believe these signings are going to get Mbappe to sign an extension. Why would it? But PSG know that they need money for this guy because he's literally the most marketable, most expensive footballer right now out there. If you could say that you're going to sell someone, he's the one that commands more money. For me, he's even worth more than Hairline, obviously, because Mbappe is a brand. So for me, PSG are in a very bad situation. They basically lied. I remember they held up the shirt And it was Mbappe, PSG, and it was 2025 on the shirt signed. And that's what they advertised it as. Now, they didn't advertise it as 2024 with an option of an extra year. That's not how they said. They said 2025. So I assumed that 2025 meant 2025 and that going into his last year, there was an amicable agreement between the two that he would probably go in 2024, but it would be for a big fee. But there's only a year left, so it has to be done. But they're not in the worst situation because Real Madrid and everybody's ready to do that deal. For his contract to actually be expiring in 2024 is just mad. It's crazy. So yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but PSG have put themselves in a mad situation. And obviously Messi has obviously gone to America and Neymar has been linked with moves away for a while. But if you let Mbappe go, you can't let Neymar go as well. You can't let Neymar, Mbappe and Messi all go in the same window. That's just mad. Why are you stressed? Don't you think the board is working hard behind the scenes? At no point, and I have to say this again because people ask me this on All You Can Eat Chelsea. At no point am I saying, and in no way, shape or form do I believe that the board are, sitting on those chairs in the offices, throwing rubbers at each other and, putting rulers through people's hair and sticking chewing gum under the table and, playing fucking Connect Four and, I'm not saying that they're doing nothing. And I'm not saying that they're not working hard. However, working hard with no results is of no use to anyone. So they can work as hard as they want. They can type up as many emails as they want, make as many phone calls as they want. If they don't get shit done very, very soon, we are screwed. That's it. That's it. I just want to make it very black and white for you. There is no gray area this window. We have to get things done and we have to get a lot of things done. They can work as hard as they want. I ain't going to clap them at the end of the window for working hard. You're at Chelsea Football Club. A lot of them are new. In fact, they're all new. Welcome to the pressure. Welcome to the standards. Welcome to the pressure of working for Chelsea Football Club. When Stanley has gone from Brighton to Chelsea, welcome to the pressure. Welcome to the pressure cooker. You're not at no normal club. You have to get these deals over the line. You can't afford to miss a phone call or to piss off somebody's agent and for it to go left, or communication line to break down, or for you to ask for too much money for a player and that deal break down. You can't afford. We have to get results in this window. We need to get results in the next couple of weeks. Otherwise, we're fucked. Simple as that. I'm just not here to lie to you today. I'm not going to lie to you. We need to get deals done. You can work hard. Are you working efficiently, properly, correctly? That's a different question. Are you working to the elite level of other boards, other institutions that get deals done like this, that have fantastic elite level negotiation skills, that know how to keep players and agents in the loop that you're meant to be chasing? Are you doing that to the level required? Because there's levels to this game. And let me tell you why. Because it's not just the fact that we finished 12th. It's the fact that it might be the fact that Arteta is clearly going to be at Arsenal for the next couple of years. There is clear stability with Edu, and there has been no stability on our side. We have not known who the new manager is going to be. We have not known all of the people in place for directors. And sometimes it's been Todd and Egbali that have negotiated deals, and then they've stepped away and it's now going to somebody else like a Win Stanley or a Lawrence Stewart. So then they're picking up negotiations that were already being done. And I explained this in the Mason Mount contract video. The Mason Mount contract was handled initially by Todd Bowie and Egbali. Then after the World Cup, we had a lot of that recruitment team come in, right? So now they picked up the negotiation, and then they're the ones that have to carry it on. That's a lot of different phone calls and different, starting points potentially in terms of conversation and catching people up on what was done. And it's just a mess, right? In comparison to Arsenal, where it's just same person, week in, week out. This is what we're doing. Now, considering we didn't know who our manager is going to be until, the end of the season, again, Arsenal with Arteta are able to pick up the phone to a Rice, pick up the phone to a Caicedo and say, this is the plan, this is the formation, this is the system, this is where I want you to play, this is the goal, this is where we're going. We can't do that with Bruno, who's in charge for one game, Frank Lampard, who's an interim, Potter who's losing game after game after game. Again, that sets us back. That puts us in a poor position, negotiations wise. So that's just the situation. That's just the situation. If you have a club that are unstable over the last 12 months, any company, any business that are unstable, that you're trying to hire employees, etc., versus a very stable institution, stable club, stable company that have a plan, that are very quickly able to tell you what they're going to pay you, because Chelsea have gone from being able to offer a certain amount of money to wages to spending 600 million, I don't know how much of that in January, and now FFP, we need to sell players, we're not able to offer the same wages as we could. Now Agate, it's different. It's different over here. Whether you like it or not, it's different over here. It's a little bit more sticky. It's a little bit more complicated than it is over there at Arsenal. Very simple at Arsenal. This is our wage structure. These are the guys that are getting new contracts. This is who we're trying to let go of, which is maybe 3-4 players, trying to bring in 3-4 players, manager sorted, board sorted, Edu in, everything done. This is where we're going. This is trajectory, qualify for Champions League, move. That's it. That's it, guys. It's very different over here. Very messy. We need to stop it from getting any messier. But this is very messy. We need Edwards to save us when Stanley and Stewart have no top club experience. Listen, I can never pinpoint who's at fault, right? Because we're not in the conversations in the boardroom. We don't know what's going on. It's not just maybe entirely their fault that some of these deals may break down. It also could be agents. It could be people like Mendes. I don't know. I'm not there. I just know that we can't afford to be unlucky. Can't afford to be unlucky. Can't afford to feel sorry for ourselves. Can't afford to say, oh, can't afford. Can't afford. It's unfortunate. Yeah, we do. But, for me, it's like, well, let me say, what about Liverpool? Well, the reason why I'm speaking about Arsenal is because we share a lot of targets with Arsenal. We don't really share targets with Liverpool right now. Thuram, Liverpool, we're not interested. Kone, Liverpool, we're not interested. Whoever else they go for at defense, again, we don't share any targets with Liverpool, so there's no reason for me to care about Liverpool right now in terms of Chelsea. We share quite a few targets with Arsenal. We shared the target of Mudryk in the end. We shared the target of Caicedo, and obviously with Rice, it was done ages ago. So that's why I'm talking about Arsenal, really. Let's see. We need. I don't know about Edwards. I think he's just chilling at the moment. Do I think he's incompetent? Again, I think I don't know, because again, I don't know him, and I don't know the ins and outs of every single thing happening. I just know what I hear, but I'm very cautious of not to just tell you, okay, like the reason why I'm very clear on the Rice thing is because I think it's very easy for anyone to work out. You can have an agenda on Rice. I have no problem with that. I don't give a shit. Like I said, I don't care about Rice. You can not rate Rice. Again, I don't care. I don't mention Rice like that. But it's very obvious that Tuchel wanted Rice, and that Tuchel managed us, and that Lampard wanted Rice, and that Lampard managed us. So unless you're actually stupid, then you know that at some point we must have wanted Rice. We just didn't put in a bid. So that's why I'm very clear on that. With Winstanley, I can't just scapegoat him and say, oh, he has to be the problem, because you never know. Like, it could be agents, could be Tony Mount, dad of Mason Mount, that may have made a mistake with negotiations. I don't know. I'm not in the rooms. I'm not on the phones. But I'm just saying that we just can't afford for mistakes from anybody. We just can't afford. So as much as he's getting a lot of heat right now, it could be him, but I don't know. So it's a lot more of a gray area. Like, I can't just piece together exactly what's happened. I just know that we've not got deals done like others have in these conversations with Mount and with others. So yeah, it's a bit sticky, man. It's a bit sticky. A lot of people are talking about him right now, I have to say. And if you take a look at the diagram of who runs and calls the shots, I think it is him and Lawrence Stewart that are just below the ownership. And obviously, Vavell is more on global proceedings and multi-club model, and that's kind of his thing. So the way that it's been articulated to me is that it is Lawrence Stewart and it is Winstanley that are kind of the ones that are in charge of these situations. And then the ones below them are your Kyle McCauley's or whatever his name is, and these other recruitment guys, Joe Shields, who a lot of people right now would probably prefer Joe Shields to actually be right up there because his targets seem to be quite good. But yeah, Joe Shields and all these guys are below them in terms of pecking order and all that kind of stuff, and you know how it all goes. Yeah, those two are kind of like they're higher up. They have more say, and they're in charge of those important details. But anyway, let's see. Too many people in that position handling transfers. Yeah, I mean, maybe it is a lack of communication. Well, maybe it is a confusion of communication. Too many people trying to do the same job. Could be too many cooks in the kitchen. That was something that a lot of people worried about. It's just mad, guys. Club working towards selling players before buying them. I agree. And that has to be the case. Like, they have to sell players before they buy. The problem is they can't take too long with the sales, because if you take too long with the sales, by the time you look to buy, the targets are gone, right? Caicedo's already gone. Onana's already maybe decided he's staying at Inter or whatever. Depends on the meeting. Like, we have to be quick, because the top players that we're going for, that we want, they're the ones that will probably get snapped up first. So yeah, it's a little bit of a mess. Yeah, no, I hear it. I mean, listen, you can only judge at the end of the window. It's true. You can only judge at the end of the window. But I think for me, no matter what happens at the end of the window, there's a certain amount for me that should have been done before July 1st. July 1st is kind of my deadline in my head of Judgment Day, because if you've got nothing done by July 1st, or you have very little done, say you've only sold Kante and Aubameyang has gone to Saudi, very little has been done, right? That's not good. Like, no matter what you do after that, you have basically put our preseason in jeopardy. And in my opinion, if you've only done a couple of things by July 1st, you've put our preseason on the back foot. You can't get back time, and preseason is already very short. So even if you go and have a very good window after July 1st, you've still compromised the preseason, and we're going to pay for that when the season starts. We're definitely going to pay. Preseason is crucial. This team is not fit. This team has no understanding of what they're doing on the pitch from a systematic point of view. This team basically has been coached in a relegation level for the last God knows how many months by Lampard now, even worse than what Potter was serving up. So that team needs a lot of work. So, if we don't give them, if we don't put that work in, we're not gonna be looking very good at the start of the season. And that's just how it's gonna go. But for me, the reason, yeah, exactly. You can rate it at the end of the window, but I'm panicking now because for me, like I said, I need shit to get done. I need shit to get done now. Anyway, let's see. I can wait till 1st of July for arrivals, but get it done now and announce it later. Yeah, I don't really. Yeah, exactly. And Nkunku hasn't even been announced. I don't care about announcements. I just need to know that players are leaving. To be honest, that's key. Let's see. I'm going to New York next Tuesday. Alphonso Davies on the market. I keep hearing his name come up. I don't know what's going on there. I heard him speak about Barcelona a little bit. I've heard him speak about how they probably didn't want him because he was Canadian, all sorts of crazy stuff. So yeah, I'm not really sure what's going on with Davies. I remember you guys were telling me Davies is not really that happy at Bayern Munich because personal reasons. Maybe he hasn't made many friends. He's apparently maybe depressed. So if that is the case, then maybe he is kind of available. But I don't know what kind of money Bayern Munich will be looking at for him. But again, that's none of our business. We ain't going anywhere near him anyway. He wouldn't come near us. Okay, let's see. I'm going to quickly go through the chat before we come towards the end. Bro, there is no first. I want about 6, 7, 8 people out to the same level. Like, you know, Aubameyang, Ziyech, you know, Lukaku, all these guys, same, you know, well, if you're asking me first, I guess, yes, Lukaku is like the one that is clear. I clearly want him gone before anyone else, but I just need players gone. I don't really care what order. If Arsenal get Caicedo, where does that leave Chelsea? That leaves Chelsea with Lavia. Lavia. I actually haven't seen any links to Paulinho. As much as I keep bringing his name up, I've not seen any link to him. It just leaves us with Lavia, and to be honest, I haven't seen anything else. Maybe I'm forgetting someone, but I haven't seen much. I just say Lavia because obviously the Joe Shields link. Southampton, he was obviously at City. He brought him through. He's very interested in Lavia. Haven't seen much, bro. Could be another preseason. It's going to be a messy preseason. I'm already getting to the point where I've just given up on the preseason being a good preseason. I think the preseason's most likely 80% going to be a mess. Do you see Madrid selling Tchouaméni? No, I don't. Or Valverde? No, I don't. Just to raise funds for Mbappe? No, I don't. In their current situation, they can't afford Mbappe. If Real Madrid can't afford Mbappe, then Mbappe just stays at PSG, and PSG is just gonna have to hold that. Like, Real Madrid are at a point now where they're in great position. The player wants to join them in 2024, I'm sure. As long as they're not stubborn, Perez is willing to forgive and forget what happened last year, then cool, they get him. Why would you potentially sell two very talented young players that you've spent a lot of money in Tchouaméni, 100 million euros, bringing him from Monaco, and Valverde, who had a really good season the year before this? Why would you bother? There's no point. Like, you can. The thing is with Real Madrid is before Mbappe's letter, they already, they had alternatives, you know, Kai Havertz and others. So maybe because they got slapped up to Man City, maybe it will pull the trigger of panic. But I don't know. I feel like Real Madrid know that they're in control here, and I think they were willing to wait until 2024. So I don't see why they would change that now. I think if anything, PSG are the ones that are going to have to lower their price. You know, Real Madrid don't have to bow down to PSG's demands. If they can't afford what PSG want, it would be on PSG to bring the money down, because Real Madrid could say, and I'm sure Real Madrid will say, you either sell him to us for what we can afford, which is still a lot of money, but what we can afford, or we're just going to leave him there and he ain't going to anywhere else. I mentioned Man United yesterday. I mentioned Arsenal because those are the only other clubs that I could even bring up as an option. But really, like I said, it's Real Madrid, and then it's like these guys are like way off in terms of being realistic. It's not even, it's like 85-90% Real Madrid chance, and then you can give maybe 3% to Arsenal and 7% to Man United. They could just say, right, we're just going to leave him. We're just going to leave him there, and you could just give him to us for free. So as they say that, PSG have to respond with a lower asking price. Like, do you really want to lose him for free, or do you want to sell him for 130, 40 plus add-ons, installments, depending on Ballon d'Ors, etc.? That's the way the deal would need to be structured for PSG, because you can't let him go for free. So I don't think Real Madrid have to rush. Real Madrid could let the whole summer go by and just put pressure on them. I think that'd be the smartest thing for them to do. But we'll see what happens. Let's see. What is the FFP fine since we are not in Europe? I'm not sure. I probably need to get I'd need to get an FFP expert on to really know what the situation is with that. Last time I heard we needed to kind of make about 100 million in terms of sales just to put ourselves really in the clear, and just, you know, keep everything calm. But I'm not entirely sure what the situation is about Europe. Let's see. We should be. Oh, I've already read that one out. Hold on a second. I think I did read this one out earlier, didn't I? Big up everybody for the super chats, obviously, as well. Much appreciated. Let me just scroll down. I will try to do. I mean, listen, I was going to do a video, but I said, you know what, I need to do a stream because I need to just talk directly to you guys. And just in case anything happened while I was on stream, then we could just go straight into it. But it doesn't seem like there's any update today. I was going to do a video on the goalkeepers, comparing the two keepers at Milan and who's the better option. AC Milan keeper don't want to come to us, so it's kind of pointless to do that now. It's basically Onana or others. I'm hearing Robert Sanchez from Brighton. I'm hearing of names that really just don't let me be honest. It's not an improvement on what we have. Sanchez is not an improvement on what we have at all. Like, it's basically a waste of a deal. May as well just not even bother. If you're going to bring in someone like Sanchez, you may as well not even bother do a goalkeeper deal this summer. Just leave it. Just leave it with who it is. I don't want Kepa to be first choice. And I've said on my keep loan sell that I would actually rather have Mendy as a backup because he doesn't cost as much as Kepa annually. Because obviously Kepa's wages are astronomical and obviously bought for 70 million. So I'd rather sell Kepa, get him off the wage books, getting a new number one and just have Mendy as backup until Stellina's ready. That would be ideally what I would do. Mendy would go into his last year next summer. Stellina would be promoted to second choice. Mendy sold. But yeah, Sanchez is not moving me, bruv. Sanchez is a waste of our time. There's no point even going for him. I don't want De Gea, no. I do not want De Gea. Yeah, it has to. And the thing is with Onana, I don't even think Onana is world class, right? I wouldn't say Onana is world class. But, you know, the goalkeeper market is so scarce, really, with quality right now in terms of who's actually available. You kind of have to get Onana. You have to. Like, I wasn't really Onana's biggest like I wasn't pushing him because I just didn't. I'm not here to say Onana's perfect and he's not going to make mistakes, and sometimes he might overplay and cost us a goal or two, you know, a season. And I just haven't seen enough of it. I haven't watched him week in, week out to even say that, yeah, Onana's going to be, you know, exceptional for us. But we ain't got much choice. At least he's shown in the Champions League final, and he's shown many occasions on the big stage now that, listen, he's got something to him, maybe leadership wise. He's definitely brave enough on the ball as well to play out from the back, which is great. And he's ridiculously, you know, commanding and tall and can cross collect. So at least I can say and feel like there's potential. If you don't think he is world class, then you could say that he's got the potential to be world class. If you do think he's world class, then fantastic. He's 27. He's at a good age. Even the likes of Van der Sar, you would say you saw them at Fulham before they went to Manchester United. What age did Van der Sar sign for Manchester United? I think he was 32. Then he goes on to become world class. So for a goalkeeper, we know this is kind of the age that they start to peak at, late 20s, early 30s, going into the mid 30s. So if he's on the cusp of being world class, that's great, which I think he maybe could be. I don't think Sanchez has got that potential. So yeah. For me, I just think there's no point with Sanchez. If you get Sanchez from Brighton, you're just wasting everybody's time, to be honest. You may as well just leave everything out. It's waste of money, waste of a contract, just waste of everything. Onana's distributions, yeah, it's mad. Like, do you know what it was for me? I knew his distribution was great, but I think there's a difference between doing it in the Serie A where maybe the press is not very intense and you're not being, you know, put under so much pressure as you would in the Premier League, and the intensity is a bit slower. You've got a bit more time, etc. To do it against Man City at that stage, that level, that pressure, I was like, okay, fair enough. Like, this guy's not, he's not messing around. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he was banned. That's why no one went in for him when he was at Ajax in the first place. Dream summer would be Onana, Lavia, Caicedo, Osimhen. I actually wouldn't put Osimhen in that dream. I think I would probably take him out. I just think for the fee, I have massive PTSD over spending minimum 100 million for a striker again. I don't care who it is, to be honest, at this point, unless it was maybe like Harry Kane. But Osimhen is not Harry Kane for me, so I wouldn't spend 100 million on him. I'd be too worried. I'd probably look at someone else. Let's see. That was was it the Croatian goalkeeper that you were mentioning there? Going to Villarreal. I mean, I only got to see him at the World Cup. Obviously, he was brilliant at the World Cup. As was Amrabat. I'm not going after him. Quite a few players turned up at the World Cup that had great tournaments, but I don't want to speak on a World Cup too much because it's not many games. Obviously, Keylor Navas had a great World Cup in Brazil and then went on to be a really, really good goalkeeper. So it can go both ways. Onana ain't pulling up, but there's a meeting. There's a meeting in a couple of days, and I will be on that. As soon as that meeting is concluded, I'll be dropping something on that, whether it's a live, if there's breaking news, if it's just, you know, something less, then I'll go with a video. But I think that meeting with Inter Milan is so important, man. Like, We just don't have time for that meeting to go wrong, to be honest, because if that meeting goes right, then there's a Koulibaly potential exit that brings the centre-backs down to a number that's normal. You've got Trevor, Silva, Fofana, Badiashile, Colwill, 4 young ones, 1 old who should be really in the stands with Bello as much as possible next season anyway, resting up unless it's one of them critical key games where his experience is needed. And you now don't have 6 centre-backs on your roster. You got 300k off the wage bill. Lukaku, again, leaves, massive for the club if he gets out, 325k a week, and you get a goalkeeper in, and then we could start talking about Mendy or Kepa or both. So it just gets the ball rolling a little bit, and I think there could be a snowball effect, that could begin if we get something significant done. I'm not talking about, releasing Baba Rahman or selling Hudson-Odoi to Hamburg. I'm talking about something significant. If we get something significant done this week, that could be a snowball. But yeah, man, and until then, I'm a little bit on edge. Let's see. And I'm on edge because, listen, these guys, it's their first window where there's not really excuses. Like last summer, as I said, you got to give them a little bit of an excuse of the fact that they're coming in late. They haven't done their networking. They have sacked everybody now in the board, whether you liked it or not, because they wanted everybody to have the same ideas, principles, planning future ideals of the club as they do. Fair enough. Everybody's singing from the same song sheet. This summer, there's no excuses. You put your recruitment team in place. Your directors are all on the front row. Deals have to get done. If they don't get done, Lord have mercy. Let's see. That will not be happening. That's for sure. I've got Pochettino's book. Got this to read. I'll be reading it on the flight on next Tuesday because it is a long read. It's about 325 pages long. 8-hour flight. I will be reading that. I want to be clued up on the new man, and hopefully there's some gems in there. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But one thing that I know will not be in that book will be, I like to work with a squad of 40 players plus. I won't find that in the book. I know I'm not going to find that in the book. There's not going to be a sentence that says, my dream is to work with 40 players at once in pre-season. I love that. More than you can believe. Let's see about his first game since the fixture list is announced then. The fixture list for the Premier League is announced. Is it on Thursday? I didn't know that. Okay. I didn't know. I actually just got it on Amazon. What is the expectation? I can't do this. I can't give you any expectations for Chelsea. Or I can't tell you what I think is going to happen until I see the transfers. Like, and do you know what? Yeah, I said it already. I'm not getting roped into any foolish predictions. Not by anyone. I'm not doing it on the Big Six. I ain't doing it on DR. I'm not doing it here. I'm not doing any predictions until the transfer window is closed, because I've always had a rule where you can't really predict anything until the window is pretty much almost shut, so you can see what the squads look like. I'm not gonna get clipped up and put out stupid predictions. So I'm not doing it. I'm waiting for the windows to get closed. If Chelsea do the window I want them to do and need them to do, then my prediction is very different from if Chelsea have 35, 36, 37 players in the first team squad and Pochettino's not happy. So I will give my predictions when it makes sense. So you get good predictions. You don't get silly predictions. What's your ideal striker? On BR Football, when I ran a show there, I mentioned Moani at Frankfurt, really just because technically he's very secure, and that makes me secure. that makes me secure as a person who's followed Chelsea for as long as I've followed football, and I need a striker that doesn't stink technically and doesn't rely solely on service and can help with chance creation. It's why I wanted Jesus over Aubameyang last summer. So any striker that isn't limited to the penalty box, isn't limited to service, solely on service, and can maybe offer something else like a dribble, drop deep, spray a pass. Anybody that can football, that can play football, I'm here for. But his price tag is high, which is why I'm not going on about him because his price tag is high, and I don't want to pay 100 million for him either. But yeah, I'd rather pay money for someone who's a good footballer than someone who isn't. To be honest, right now, even if they're a great goal scorer, because we've seen what that looks like. All right, you can't believe Pochettino's targeting Martinez. Let me just quickly open it on the 15th of June. Is it Thursday? So it is Thursday when the fixtures get released. That seems a bit early, doesn't it? No. Anyway, maybe. Actually, the season did finish a bit late because of the World Cup, so maybe it's not actually early. Maybe. And also, yes, the case I made on BR was that they have the French connection. Mbappe moves out onto the left wing for France. Moani becomes the striker, and Nkunku plays just behind. There's the French connection between the two of them, so there's some chemistry there. And Nkunku, I think, would like to play with him. He's technically a good player to link up with, carry the ball, etc. Dribble, very good dribbler. So that's kind of the foundations of why I would move towards him. Not saying that that is my top target, because I haven't really got a top target right now. I just know that I don't want Lautaro Martinez for stupid money. I don't even really want him, period. But again, if Poch wants him, I wouldn't go berserk. As long as he doesn't want Lukaku, then I would go berserk. I don't really trust Lautaro, to be honest. I don't trust him. And then, yeah, exactly. And you keep going through the names. So, but yeah, it is what it is. I only asked because I asked you last season and you said Chelsea were finishing in the top 4 and above Arsenal and United. I told you, yeah, exactly. Stupidness, isn't it? And to be honest, though, I think context is important. When I made that prediction, Tuchel was in charge, and you know how much I rate Tuchel. If Graham Potter had been in charge, I would have given you a different prediction. I'm not going to lie to you. So context is very important. When you make predictions, if somebody gets sacked, if managers get sacked, and that changes things. Which is why I'm trying to hold off as late as possible to make a prediction, because I don't know what's going to happen with signings. If Arsenal get Rice and Caicedo, my prediction for them is different for if they don't get him and they get others. But yeah, I think Tuchel getting sacked changed a lot for me there, because Tuchel left us in 5th. And then next thing you know, we're suddenly 12th. So it's a long day. It's a long day indeed. So yeah, I'm going to hold off on that one. But to be honest, I don't think anybody would have really been surprised that I said Arsenal will finish below Chelsea, considering Arsenal have been finishing below Chelsea for how many years in a row? You know, when was the last time Arsenal finished above Chelsea in the Premier League before last season? Let's go and check. Last season, obviously they did. The season before Chelsea finished 3rd, Arsenal finished 5th. The season before Chelsea finished 4th, Arsenal finished 8th. Season before Chelsea finished 4th, Arsenal finished 8th. Season before Chelsea finished 3rd, Arsenal finished 5th. Season before Chelsea finished 5th, Arsenal finished 6th. Season before Chelsea won the league, Arsenal finished 5th. Season before Chelsea finished below Arsenal, Arsenal finished 2nd, Chelsea finished 10th. So you have to go back to 15-16, the last time Arsenal finished ahead of Chelsea. I don't think I'm really going to be that disappointed in myself for saying that would happen again. Now, the only thing I will say is that you did smack us up in pre-season, so there was warning signs, but I just didn't expect us to finish below you. It would be close. I probably had you guys to finish in 5th and maybe us in 4th. I think that's what it was, actually. Tottenham 3rd, which was a massive L, but Conte is a lot worse than I expected him to be in his 2nd season. Arsenal 5th and Chelsea in 4th. I don't think that's that crazy, to be honest. I'm not going to lie. I don't really regret that. Man United, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there, because as I said on the Big Six when I was hosting yesterday, every time someone tells me that Qatar is coming to buy Man United and it's done, and then somebody else tells me it's a fake report, I'm not following United's ownership takeover situation day in, day out. So I'm just not really best place to speak on it. I'm just waiting to see when it's actually done. I don't know what's going on, to be honest. Let's see. So yeah, all right. Well, guys, we're gonna wrap up there. Much appreciated. Really great stream. I try and do one of these every day if there's actually a lot going on. I definitely put out content every day. If there's a lot to talk on, like there was today, I think today I just needed to come and speak on this whole Inter Milan thing, this whole Caicedo and Rice thing, and this whole Saudi situation as well with our players. And yeah, like if we get a lot, then we'll definitely do a stream every day. I'm not actually setting a strict time because I'm going to New York next week. When I'm in New York with Big Six, I am going to put out content, but it's only going to be videos. It's not going to be streams. And the time difference is a bit of a mess as well, so I have to work that out. But I'll put out a video every day. And then, yeah, and then after that in July, we'll try and get a regular slot of stream where you just know every day at a certain time I'm gonna do a transfer live, and then we go into next season. So big up your damn selves. Hopefully we get good news from that meeting with Inter Milan. That meeting is crucial, absolutely crucial. If we get good news, then they're either going to Inter, or worst case scenario, they're going to Saudi. Maybe we get a bit of money for these players as well, because we know Inter ain't got no money. And yeah, I don't really care which one happens, to be honest. I just need these players gone. So let's see what happens. Big up your damn selves, smash up the likes, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Big up in a bit, people. Peace. Perfect.